Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the session. Today, I am super excited to have three, should I say, current students or prospective students from Wharton. We're going to talk about their GMAT and MBA journeys. I want to introduce Gauri, Shrey, and Sharanya. Shrey's joined us. Thank you, Shrey. This is a session that we're doing to support people who are suffering from COVID in India, but we'll talk about that later. Prior to that, why don't you guys introduce yourself? So, Gauri, do you want to go first, and
Sure.
then, yeah.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Gauri Singhal. I'm based out of New Delhi. And thank you so much, Rajat. It's such a pleasure to join the session. Thank you for having us.
Shrey, why don't you?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. This is Shrey Malpani. Like Rajat mentioned, part of a Wharton grad 23 class. Happy to join and address any queries here.
Okay, and then
Hi
Sharanya.
everybody. Hi everybody. Sharanya this side. I am currently in Delhi and going to be joining the Wharton class of 2023. Super excited to be part of this and hopefully can contribute to some of the learnings that I had in my journey.
Okay, so let me tell you why I'm super excited about this session, because I think we have three people here and three people from very diverse backgrounds. Gauri, you're from a commerce background, and we have someone from consulting and someone from core tech, and so three very diverse backgrounds, three very different journeys into to Wharton, and I think to also a bunch of other very selective schools, and all three of you have. I've gotten a substantial amount of scholarships. So I think great GMAT scores, really good scholarship. And I think there's a lot to learn from your journeys that we can have. But I think before that, let's just talk about why is it that we are doing this. And so Shri, we have about, about 70 odd students here. Do you want to talk about why are we doing this and how could students benefit from it? In addition to just attending this session. Shri?
Hey, thanks, Rajat. Hey, everyone. My name is Shrey, Wharton admin, and a volunteer at Students Fight COVID. Uh, we are a group of more than 250 MBA admins from top universities like Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, NCR, Columbia, and Tuck. A few of us started this initiative about 3 weeks back with one goal to raise funds for orgs that are working on COVID relief in India and also mentor MBA aspirants such as yourself on different aspects of an MBA application. The funds that you donate go directly to Swasth Foundation, helping them procure essentials like oxygen concentrators, oximeters, etc.
Do you want me to just share the presentation? Hold on. Do you want me to share the presentation? Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. All right.
Yeah,
sorry about
I think like I mentioned, we have a mentor network of more than 250 students, and we were in your shoes a couple of years back, so more than happy to share from our journeys across different schools. How can we help you? Essentially, help you in different aspects of an MBA application. It could be essays, GMAT, career consulting, etc. The entire initiative has essentially 5 services that we offer. Like I mentioned, it could include your application essays, your post-MBA goals. This becomes a very critical part of your application's essay. So just helping you brainstorm and come up with that post-MBA goal. Understand which school you want to go to. I see there are a bunch of questions already on school selection, so more than happy to have a chat with you on those. Letter of recommendations, who should you choose, etc. And of course, the interview prep, right? So these are essentially the 5 services that we offer. Rajat, if you could just... Yeah, so very grateful to Rajat and the entire e-GMAT team. Our one-on-one consultation, you essentially donate 4,000 rupees or $50 if you're outside India. Via this session, you essentially get that service at a 50% discount. So you donate $1,999 or $25, and e-GMAT matches $1,999 and $25 to the fundraiser that we have. Right? Awesome. Rajat has dropped a link to our website. You can register, click on the website link, drop in your email IDs. There's a link to our fundraiser. This is essentially how you sign up, right? You fill up a form. You can either use this bit.ly link that you see on your screens or go to Students Fight COVID. There's a link bang in the middle of the page. You donate to a fundraiser. Again, there's a link on your screens. It's also there on our website. You submit the form, and within 48 hours, we'll ensure that you're matched to a mentor to have that conversation. I'm happy to take any questions. You have a great panel today, Rajat. I'm going to switch my cameras off. I'm happy to answer questions in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you, Shrey. So I want to just talk about something. This is something that these guys are doing is really, really phenomenal. They've already collected about 30 crores for this initiative, and their goal is to $30,000. Their goal is to get to upwards of $100,000 or so, and I think your support would be there. For e-GMAT, this hits us at home. Over the last 2 months, about 35% of the company has suffered because of COVID, either directly or indirectly. So for us, this is a really important initiative. In fact, if you're an e-GMAT student, you've heard of the platforms called Ranium Shantanu, who kind of designed that platform. He lost his dad to COVID. Similarly, within e-GMAT, we've had, e-GMATers have lost about 10 folks within their immediate family to COVID. So I think this is, first of all, it's something that hits home. B, all of us are fortunate enough to be able to study like this, to be able to work like this. And I think this is time when we do our bit to support others who are not. And whatever little you do will help many, many more folks. So which is where Pyle and I and the entire company, we decided to pitch in, do our bit, and make this easier for you. You have this fantastic panelists. You can ask them these questions, but I think that those one-on-one sessions, typically, if you were to do a one-on-one session with an admission consultant in the US, it's going to cost about $200 to $250. You're getting one for $25. You talk in terms of US dollars, sorry, not Indian rupees, or 2,000 rupees. And I think it's wonderful, and we are happy to do the match. Okay, with that, let's kind of talk about this. So we talked about 3 candidates, 3 different backgrounds over here. What was your strategy of, and 3 760 scores? So you have 3 very, very different 760 scores. So Sharanya, yours is a really strong verbal score, and Shrey, yours is a really strong quant score, and then you've kind of made up the difference on verbal. And Gauri, yours is also a really strong verbal score. So how did you approach the GMAT? What challenges you faced, and how did you overcome that? I think let's start with that, because that's kind of one of the biggest challenges that students have.
Sure,
So
I'll go ahead.
Go ahead, Shrey.
All right. So I think GMAT, like any portion of the MBA application, is a very, very personal experience in terms of how you prepare for it. Each of the candidates would have certain strengths from their past background. It's very important to kind of start off assessing what are your strengths and weaknesses, and accordingly plan your preparation journey, focusing upon the areas that you really want to improve upon. I would say, though, it's sometimes we tend to assume that a specific score, say a 750 or a 760, is the bare minimum to get into schools. Just want to break that myth. It's not so. Everyone has a unique journey. There are multiple components that go into an application. So rest assured that any 740, 50, 60 is not a bare minimum to get into any of the top schools as well.
Okay. Gauri, you took multiple attempts, right? So how did you deal with setbacks during your GMAT journey?
It's been a very interesting journey for me, very honestly. So to be honest, I took my GMAT once back in 2014-15, and that was a 750 attempt in one go. But I was an undergrad student back then, and the mindset to study was completely different. So why I had to take multiple attempts this time was just simply because I was too overconfident about the whole piece, very honestly put. Like, in my experience, what I can talk about it is, when you come back to education after after working, or while you're working, it's completely a different ball game. So I had to really, I thought it's going to be very easy. I did not sign up for any programs. I started studying from random books, took a couple of mocks, and a few days before my deadline, just booked it very confidently. Okay, 750, 760 should be really manageable. And I got something in my early 600s, which shook my confidence dramatically, so much so I thought, okay, this is not going to happen again. And I had to miss a deadline. So something I'd like to be honest, or, like I'd like to talk about is, don't book it too close to your deadlines. Don't leave it for the last minute. Be as prepared about it. And it seems a lot of Indians and a lot of us take it a little easy, like it's basic quant and verbal, but it can get really challenging. And once you get a bad score, irrespective of your capability, then to go from that early 600s to a 750 becomes a very long journey. And that's where, very honestly, I'd like to plug in, like, no, like e-GMAT was extremely helpful in the second side of the journey, like in terms of, just that structured program and understanding the gaps, and then going back to student life rather than doing it on my own was extremely helpful.
Well, thank you, Gauri. But I think the two learnings from yours. First of all, stay confident. You got that 600 odd score, but you had that 750, so you were confident. But stay humble as well. Don't assume what worked in the past would work right away. Yeah, I think both traits are very important overall. Okay, so. Then
so Rajat, I would like to add one thing to that. So this, I had already seen so many people in your channel actually, conceding that they went in with a very confident approach, and that fear made me prepare much in advance, right? So because COVID had, set in, and we had a lot of free time, to be very honest, because you're not spending time commuting, work from home is easier. So I could really devote that much time, and the fear of not doing well actually compelled me to, actually put in those 2 to 3 hours. So you should try and learn from others' mistakes, and I think that really works for me. And it's I think, the e-GMAT videos really helped me on that bit. So thanks.
Oh, thank you for that. I'm glad, and for those of you who are not just subscribe to the channel, do that. We try and post 1 or 2 success stories every week or so that way. Who took the online GMAT over here? Okay, and then I'm talking. Oh, you also took the online GMAT the first time or the second time?
A few attempts in the middle, but I didn't have a great experience with it, very honestly. I know Sharanya had a fantastic experience in one go, but I tried to take it twice and I had a very bad experience with it. The system hanged and stuff like that. They gave me a refund, they rescheduled it. But I started to take the online exam and they were experimenting, and I was very early on into trying with it, with early COVID and stuff like that. I think the process streamlined across a little later.
It has, and I think the reason I'm asking this question is the 20th of May. I think today they're starting the enhanced online test, and the online GMAT which you guys took was taken on a Pearson platform, and Pearson is a traditional company. This one is now on a platform called Examity, and Examity is a company that just does online proctoring. And from a technological standpoint, this is something that's a lot more advanced. I think they're valued about $600 million just for online proctoring or so. So they are a company that has a vested interest in making sure that this works. And it does, because my daughter has taken all her exams on Examity, and she's taken about 12 exams this year, and it works. So the platform's pretty stable that way. But yes. All right. So all three of you have scholarships. Why do you think you got a scholarship, or what do you think? What aspects of your candidacy helped you get a scholarship? And just to add some context, Gauri, let's start with you. You have this Joseph Wharton Fellowship, and so let's start from you. So let's start with a bit of your background, and then the reason you think you got a scholarship.
I can't be very sure of why I got
Your hypothesis. I know.
So I think what it says is it's about your professional and personal achievements across the journey. So I cannot pinpoint, but in terms of my experience, just for everyone's knowledge, it's I did my undergrad at Lady Shri Ram College, and then I went on to do my master's in management from London Business School, and I've had over 5 years of entrepreneurial experience in building out consumer businesses. So I would say it's not been a very conventional profile. And in terms of someone who would apply to an MBA, most people what I was fearing was, I was not a conventional consulting or an IB profile. And maybe that worked for us, maybe that worked for me. And I believe some schools are also looking at academics and, proof of excellence in certain sense. And, so probably, and Shrey, you were mentioning that, a lower GMAT scores, okay, but I thought a higher GMAT score sometimes proves caliber, and then schools look at you differently. This is just my take or hypothesis again, but I think I've seen a trend between it takes care of some aspects of your application.
It does. It does. It's proof of excellence and all. So, but just to really say, going into the entire MBA process, you felt that you were at a disadvantage because of your entrepreneurial experience.
I thought so. At least for Wharton, it was my dream school day one, but I did not see any profiles of people from my background. Why it was a dream school or why I liked it for some reason was because I saw people from LSR that had gone in. So I knew that the college appreciated people from my undergrads, and that's a huge motivation to a certain extent. But I did not see any people who'd done entrepreneurship before. I'd learned that it's a great school for entrepreneurship after, and they were coming up with a new tangent hall, a lot of venture labs and programs for entrepreneurship. They were pushing entrepreneurship. So that was a good thing to know. But I'd not seen a lot of people who had been from an entrepreneurial background, especially at Wharton. So this made me a little skeptical about my candidature and made me work a little hard on my applications.
Okay. Okay, that's. But I'm glad that you got it, and I think I can tell you your profile. It would be schools look at as achievements, and you had those achievements of growing multiple CPG brands within your family business as well as what you started as your own business over there. So, Shrey or Sharanya, what do you think? Why do you think you guys got a scholarship?
So I think the first thing that I was like, that I need to target three schools. It's not going to be multiple schools. I'm not trying to hedge my bets. That's for round two. I'm going to give my top three schools that I really want to apply to all my strength, right? And I think that really worked because the kind of depth you go in terms of learning about the school, how you can position yourselves. I mean, you look at those, we're going to come to it later, the Wharton essays, right? They're very, very specific. And I think if you devote your time to that, you really come up with a very compelling application. And the other thing I also think is once you get shortlisted, you can't be complacent. So you really need to work on the TBD. And if you perform there, right, the delta is really, really massive. And I think that's what led me into getting a scholarship is what I strongly feel.
So focus and decide what you're not going to do. Which schools are you
Yes.
not going to focus on?
Yes.
Allows
Yes.
you to devote that much more energy,
Yes.
and that's where you actually get that edge over the other applicants.
That's what worked for me. I wasn't exhausted. I knew the fourth level of detail about something. And I think when you speak about those kind of things in a TBD, they really, really matter. And of course, once you've cleared that application, they know that you know about the school. But to sort of have that person speak through it, it makes a
The
big
TBD
difference.
is team-based discussion.
Yes, yes,
Yes, so it's a part of the overall application process.
yes, yes. Once you
Okay.
get selected after the essays.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's good to know. And then Shrey.
Yeah, I think picking up from what Gauri and Sharanya said, I think every B school looks for three most important things, right? One is excellence in candidate. Second is unique value that you bring to the class. And third is relating to the overall mission and vision of the school. So I think it's very important to introspect before even starting the application and ensure that you pick schools like Sharanya mentioned. You pick schools wherein you feel connected to based on your background and based on your goals. It's very important to highlight the excellent achievements that you have, and it could be either in academics or during your professional life, or an extracurricular activity that you do during your free time, or it could be a combination of all of that. So I think the more you are able to show a relatability to the vision of the school, more uniqueness that you bring to the class, and your level of excellence, that should help in getting the scholarship.
I actually love how three people into Wharton, the answers are so, I'd say, true to your personality. So Gauri's answer was more about where she was underconfident earlier going in, being from CPG. Sharanya's answer was more about focus, kind of true to his tech background. And your answer was kind of a consulting answer. You kind of said each school needs three things, one, two, three. Just
There's
let me
always three.
summarize it with that framework in there, and it shows what you've done. That personality comes out in your answers. That's wonderful. Okay, so we've talked about the GMAT setback over there. I've talked about the online GMAT. That's wonderful. Um, so how did you choose on? I mean, we've talked about narrowing it down to three schools for Sharanya and Gauri. I don't know how many schools, but how did you kind of zero in on the schools that you applied to?
So I really tried to see what I want to do post my MBA and which school will actually help me get there, right? So I wanted to continue being the field of investing. And I think Wharton had a very, very strong franchise. If you look at all the big private equity and venture capital funds in India, Wharton seems to be one of those schools with extremely, expansive networks. And my other schools, Harvard and Stanford, both had extensive networks in the same investing field. So for me, it was really like if I can get into one of these three, and how I could use the leverage and I could leverage the networks here to sort of make sure that I tick mark all the check boxes that you really need to sort of become a fund manager someday. So that's how I narrowed it down. My other choice was Columbia. I would have wanted to go for an early admit. I mean, I don't know why it didn't strike me initially, and by the time I was in round one, I was way too engrossed in the three applications to make time out for a fourth. So I had reserved that for round two in case I won't have gotten to one of these three.
Okay, that's good. I want to just ask a follow-on question. So when you were researching these schools, were there certain aspects of these schools that kind of really said that this spoke to you, said this seems more like me? And were there other schools that you rejected in this process which didn't seem more like, where you would fit in?
Yeah, so across all these schools, right, the one thing that stood out was leadership, in the sense that whatever they had excelling in, right? For example, Wharton was very, very strong on finance. Stanford was design thinking and innovation. Harvard was core leadership across. I think that really spoke to a lot of aspects about my own personality. And I like going deep into one thing, right? So coming from finance, looking at how the world is changing, looking at the startup ecosystem here, given the fact that I'm in investing, that really appealed to me, right? That you're going to be the ones that going to be driving the next level of change, and that happens in these kind of schools. So for me, something these schools, attributes really echoed with my personality, and that's why I chose them. Versus the others were more like, uh, for me, I'm not a consultant. I do know that, and a lot of the other schools were very much like, trying to fit me into a box that I don't think I would have fit well into. So it was quite a clear answer to me in terms of the schools I would apply to.
Okay, let's kind of go to Shrey now.
Yeah. So
School
I think
selection, yes.
Yeah, I think like Sharanya mentioned, the important aspects that you look for depends upon what the goals, what your individual goals are in terms of what you want out of the MBA. So for me, it was again three things: I like academics, career, and the social aspect. And I narrowed it down to five schools. Again, didn't end up applying to a huge list, but the key aspect was to identify the difference that each school offered in terms of the social life that prevails in the school. For example, Wharton really has a unique advantage of having a campus in San Francisco, and I'm looking to move towards a tech PM role. So that kind of appealed to me in terms of both a career and networking aspect. And similarly, there were other schools like, for example, the other schools that I applied to were Stanford, Harvard, and Kellogg. Stanford was right in the Bay Area, so it was a clear choice to be closer to the tech industry. Kellogg also offered a very, a program closer to San Francisco for a term. And HBS had a lot of entrepreneurial mindset within the class, which again relates very closely to tech. So all of these factors were kind of the driving force in in selecting the schools.
Okay, that's really good. And you also got an admit from Fuqua and Kellogg as well.
Yeah.
Did you get scholarships from them too?
Yes. So Fuqua, I did not look at the offer because it was too late in the timeline. But
you didn't even look at the offer just to make sure. I mean, there was an email that came saying, "Hey, you have so much scholarship." You didn't even open that email.
Yeah, I mean, by the time I had already made the decision, made my deposit at Wharton, so I was like, okay, I'm not changing my choice right now.
But do you know what the offer was?
No, I don't.
Oh my.
Oh my God! I mean, that's a consultant's focus there. Okay, what about Kellogg?
Yeah, Kellogg had the same scholarship that I got at Wharton. I think the key differentiator between Kellogg and it was a difficult choice. Kellogg has a very different culture compared to Wharton. It's a very collaborative culture. From an industry standpoint, they're very they excel in marketing and consulting. And Wharton, on the other hand, it's like a very sort of a party school, I would say, and focused on the finance industry. I mean, don't take the word party
Yeah.
school.
That's what I'm going to put on my LinkedIn. Wharton is a party school, and then your picture below that with some photoshopping on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're very focused on the glamour of the finance industry and very close to tech as well. So I think the choice was very difficult for me. Eventually, I ended up talking to a lot of current students, tried to follow the consultant approach, pros and cons, and picked Wharton.
Okay. Very well said. Thank you, Shrey. Yeah, Wharton is a fun school is what I'll take away from that.
It is, though.
It is, I agree. Play hard and work hard. What about you, Gauri?
So I applied to 4 schools, and it was Howard, Wharton, Stanford, and Columbia. I got interview calls from all of these and admits from Wharton and Columbia, the Wharton scholarship, but also Wharton being my dream school from day one. Like I mean, I literally had posters, of me photoshopped at on the Wharton wall and things like that. So I've been that obsessed with Wharton since the time I was applying.
It's on your LinkedIn too, right?
Sorry?
It is on your LinkedIn too, right? That poster of Wharton photoshopped.
No, of course not on LinkedIn, but yeah, in my rooms for sure and my wallpapers. Yeah. So it's been that I researched the school, and for me, value systems are very important. I resonated extremely with the Wharton value system. So from whatever I could understand of it virtually, and that is very, very important for me in school picking. So that's how I went about the process. Wharton's, doing is walking the talk in terms of gender equality, and that for me is extremely, extremely important. Like genuinely, like to have Erica James and the sort of leadership that Wharton has set up. Alongside being a fun school has been extremely tremendous, very honestly, as a decision for me. And the focus of school in becoming known as an entrepreneurship school gives me a lot of scope to play around, because the school is trying to focus on that, or moving its focus alongside finance to entrepreneurship. So that gives us a lot of access to grants and opportunities in entrepreneurship without it being extremely competitive as it would be at a school which is 100% entrepreneurship focused. Then, as I talked about CPG, we've had the best of CPG brands in India. Like if I talk about my favorites, Paperboat and Epigamia that have come out of Wharton. We've had Wrigley's come out of Wharton in the US. We've had Lola, which has been an inspiration for me in starting out my startup, come out of Wharton. So I've been super researched on why Wharton for me. Like, it's like I have 10,000 things to say there. So that's how researched I can also be about. I mean, people can also be obsessed with schools. So if you can show that obsession to schools, then you're 100% fit for that school. Like, because you're saying, I want you as much as you want me, sort of a setup. And that also plays well and gives you a leverage in terms of your application. Because I mean, so many people would talk about consulting and IB, but I don't think so many people would talk about a very specific industry and how many alums have come out of it and gone to that level of research and saying, this is why I want Wharton, in a very, very specific manner.
Got it. That's very well said. I think the common thing is know why you want it, do that, put that effort in there, and essentially, you may want one or two schools. In Shrey's case, Kellogg was a very close choice for him, and I think that's something which is there. Just I think he knew both schools inside out. That's what allowed him to make that decision. That's wonderful. So I just want to remind everyone, we've got 160 odd students over here. We're doing this as a process of students fight COVID, and over here we have 3 Wharton students, but students who've had experience and successful experience at Columbia, at Kellogg, at Fuqua, and about what 250 300K worth of scholarship if you exclude Shreyas, still to be opened offer out of it. So these are, and I want to thank you guys for volunteering to help those who are not as fortunate. So what you guys can do is book one-on-one time with 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 these guys and other folks from other schools. Pretty much every top school, they have a list of about 250 volunteers right now from top schools, and work on pretty much any aspect of your candidacy for $25 or 1999 INR. We can share the link, and we'll be sharing this link overall multiple times. uh, so let's go to the next question. Now, I have this question to ask. So each one of you applied to like 4, 5, and Sharanya applied to just 3 schools. If you had a 720, what would your strategy? I mean, would your strategy have changed? Would you have applied to more schools, or what kind of confidence does that 760 give you? It's a what if question, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely. So I'll start off with a general mindset. Like all three of us have said that at some point you are unsure whether your background will fit the application, because it's such a black box, and no one really knows what works. So we all start off thinking a conventional story might work, an unconventional story might work. Don't know if we are going to fit into that or not. So having a higher score is definitely a good morale booster in that sense, in terms of which schools you target, or which schools you target in which round. So I think if I would have got a 720, then perhaps the mix of schools in terms of rounds would have changed. So just a little more background around that. I applied to Harvard, Kellogg, and Fuqua Harvard, Kellogg, and Stanford in round 1, and then Wharton and Fuqua in round 2. And got admits in both the rounds. So I think the major learning from there was it doesn't really matter which round you apply in, and also how you balance your choices in terms of the targets that you're picking up. Factoring in the difficulty to get into those schools kind of gets impacted by the GMAT score.
Okay. Anything additional that either one of you want to add to that?
Yeah. So I actually have a contrarian view to that. I think so. These schools have their own buckets, right? Like a finance boy. For me, I was coming from a venture capital industry. I knew that I had a whole bunch of people who were equally talented, right? So I really think the round choice mattered for me. I think the round one is super conducive to all the buy side folks getting in, and I saw that really, panning out in the peers who got admitted as well. So for me, that was important. If I had a 720, first of all, if I had 3 months for my application, I would retake it. Especially if I know I'm capable of doing better on the exam. See, there's so many external factors that can contribute to a GMAT score. It's not just intellect. So if you genuinely believe that you can score higher, please take it again. 720 is a good score. You're eligible for all the great schools. But if you want to truly de-risk yourself from not being put out of a process because of your score, please take it again. right? And once you do get that 760, that's not guaranteed that you will get in, but you definitely meet the bar in terms of the academic rigor that these guys will put you through. So that would be my 2 cents. Yeah.
I absolutely agree with Sharanya, to be honest, on everything. Go by what your capabilities. If you think you can do better, I would delay my application. That's what I did. I had a 720 round one, but I really wanted to feel confident in sending out my application and feel more confident, and therefore I pushed it to round two. So uh, uh, I would also recommend exactly doing that. And also for me, if I were at a 720, I believe my applications or my interview calls would have played out differently. Believe so to a certain extent. So I I would go with whatever one believes is their best capability. And also, I feel round by round and year by year, things are becoming more competitive due to access, information, and things like that. It's extremely important that one gives their best shot. It's a once in a lifetime sort of an opportunity. And as we were discussing, these become such an important part of your identity going forward that it's important that you give it your best shot.
I agree. I think, yeah, you do an MBA just once. You might marry twice. You'll do an MBA just once. So let's talk about B school essays, and we're going to focus on Wharton essays. So the first question, and I think probably the most important question, is describe your career progress to date and your future short-term and long-term MBA goals. How do you expect a Wharton MBA to help you achieve, and why now? Okay, so yeah. So in terms of this, how did you approach this? Which aspects of your career did you highlighted, and why do you think it made sense? I think this time Shrey should go first. Shrey's been.
Yeah, sure. Rajat, could you repeat that? I lost you
So
when you were.
it was the first question in the that you had in your application, which was, hey, describe your career progression today and the future short-term and long-term goals. So how did you choose the short-term and long-term goals? How did you link it to what you've done till date, and then why Wharton and why now?
Right.
How did you approach that? Yes.
Right. I think and this is my personal belief that once you set out for your B school applications, the key aspect is to introspect really, really well, to understand what has been driving the choices that as an individual we've been making, both professionally and personally, and that kind of ensures that we are aware of what we want to do post MBA. So this is what I did. I spent about a month talking to my friends, my relatives, ensuring that I capture a lot of personal feedback to kind of identify, apart from what I think I'm good at, what do others feel about the same, and used it to kind of feed into my post MBA goal selection. Once I knew that I am really passionate about structured problem solving, which was evident from both my career experience and the feedback that I got from a lot of friends, and I was very passionate about tech. So
How did you approach your friends? Like, tell me, what am I good at? Is that the question you asked?
So, no, I mean, this question will never get you a good answer.
Yes.
They'll turn out blank as a response to this question. I think it's important to identify situational responses. Maybe sometimes I used to play games with my friends, like would you rather, or situational games wherein they would kind of debate about responses that each of us will do, and brings out a lot of character about a person. So use those indirect questions to get those feedback from friends. And once I knew that my post MBA goal is is a product management role in a tech firm, I try to identify what is it that I need in terms of skill sets to bridge the gap between what I already have versus what I need to be a success. Yeah. So I think once you're aware of that, it kind of feeds into the school selection process as well. You want to be there where you are able to address your skills gaps in the most efficient way, which will not only set you up for success, but also make a compelling case for the school that you're well researched, very confident about yourself, clear in your head about your goals, specific aspects of the school that are going to help in bridging that gap. For example, in my case, the semester in San Francisco was very important to me from a Wharton standpoint, and I highlighted that in my application. Even got a question around that in my interview. And these depth in research, like Gauri and Sharanya mentioned earlier, are very key inputs that relay the message to the school that you're very serious about the school.
So when you talked about your strengths, and there's a really great response, and talked about your strengths, and you kind of extracted your strengths. Let's call it that way. You didn't ask them for it, but
Yeah.
you also figure out those aspects that you needed to work on so that the gaps to becoming a product manager did you also get insights around those?
I would talk about gaps in two aspects. One is inherent, for the lack of a better word, inherent weaknesses that we have. And talking to colleagues helped there a lot. But when it came to bridging gaps between the current experience versus the goal, I tried to talk to folks who were from similar backgrounds. To understand, what is it that helped in their journey in transitioning from the consulting background to a tech PM role.
Okay, perfect. All right, I think Gauri, let's go to you now, and then.
So for me, I would say what worked for me are two things. One is self-awareness and second is authenticity. So I went out and I was extremely vulnerable in my applications. I wrote out personal stories, professional stories, weaknesses, strengths, failures also. So I don't think one can camouflage in MBA applications. I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't do it. So in the career progression journey, I sort of sat down, irrespective of the word limit, but sat down my own journey and I connected the dots how one thing led to the other. And for me, it was all possible, like as a journey. And then I also saw where the dips were and how can I bridge those through an MBA. And it was a clear journey which is very very self-explanatory. Like if I can explain that story, it's a story. Like for me it was a lot about storytelling, self-awareness, and being honest. Like on the Harvard essay, just digressing, I wrote about a value system that's extremely important to me and why the word women appears in my resume some 12 times. Like I just explained why the word women appears in my resume 12
So
times.
this is in response to the question, what's important to you and why, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And the
Yeah.
second question at Stanford was what matters to you the most. And I wrote out a personal essay about working with my grandfather. And at least I did an okay job in the essay, in spite of writing an extremely personal essay, which I don't think I would want my closest of friends or family to read. I cried writing that essay, but it was extremely vulnerable that I've ever been in my life, or as introspective as I could have gotten to be. It was about what matters to you the most, and someone would write a professional essay, and I'm writing about my relation that I've shared with a loved one and how it's impacted my professional and personal life. Similarly, for Wharton, it was a more structured essay where there was little scope to be vulnerable, but I was vulnerable professionally in terms of this has been my journey, but with these skill set, this is where my learning curve and journey could be. So I thought self-awareness and vulnerability and being honest was extremely important in my journey.
Okay. What about you, Sharanya?
So, of course, in line with Gauri and Shrey, right? You need to know yourself a lot more. You need to spend that time on introspection. And I actually spent a lot of time with my sister, my closest friends from college and school to really understand what they thought of me, right? And once I had their feedback, I thought, okay, what do I need to convey? And then accordingly see which kind of real estate would help me in achieving that, right? So my letters of recommendation, I did speak to my supervisors and tell them that please do talk about these 3 4 things if you think I'm deserving of this, because for me these were big things, right? So you might want to use that space strategically and make sure that they're not at odds with each other, right? Like if you're talking about something that mattered to you a lot in your essay, it can't be that your recommender not never saw that, right? So
It should be
you,
in sync.
yes, it
Architecturally, it
should be
should
in
work.
sync. Everything should marry, So I actually I gave my recommender the 2 months heads up. It can't be a 2 week. Please just help me with my recommendation. It needs to be thought through well, and I think I positioned myself appropriately. And after, of course, this happened after a lot of introspection and spending time with people who know me the best.
Okay, that's very, very well said. I think what looking at your answers, what it seems to me is for you, this essay was as much of a discovery about yourself as it was a challenge to really, man, it's a part of an application question. You didn't think of it as that way. It was more like, hey, why the hell should I do an MBA? What is value is it going to add, and why should I invest a crore or about 200 grand or so on it? And why does it make so much sense to invest that amount of money? Okay. So let's talk about the failure essay. The second essay says, describe a setback or a failure that you've experienced. What role did you play, and what did you learn about yourself? I think this is going to be the last question before we take we talk about what we're trying to achieve over here. So yeah, so let's talk about this. I think a failure essay is a great essay. It's an essay that a lot of people are afraid of. We don't like to portray our failures. So how did you approach it, and then what did you write about, and how can you turn this to an advantage? Okay, Sharanya, I think you should go first now.
Okay, so I don't think this essay was there when we were applying.
Okay.
So it was a part of a short essay that I wrote for Stanford. But there you really need to be honest without sounding that please, okay, this happened to me and please pity, right? Like you have to sound more reflective. You have to, your decisions should show that you learned something. It can't just be that you just put it out there on a piece of paper saying, oh, and then I learned this. It should come through your application, and if you really learn something, the other 3-4 essays would sort of have that same hint of the qualitative aspect of who you are reflected in that. So if you're being honest, you shouldn't, this just should not be a problem for me. Like and I think this is asked to the recommenders for sure, that what was the personal sense of feedback or something. So if it's a professional
Describe an
kind of,
area where
uh,
when this candidate failed,
yeah,
and then
so
what feedback you gave, and how did the candidate
yes,
change after
yes.
that?
So
Yes.
if it's not professional, then maybe your recommenders may not be able to talk about it. But if it's professional, just try and place it strategically is what I'm trying to say. Like being honest is absolutely important so that they'll see through it once you sit for the interview. So being honest is key, and being strategic about how you then place it is also important, I would say.
Okay. Gauri.
So I would take a failure question as any other normal question. It's just about introspecting, being honest. Of course, you'll be mindful of what you write in an application, but the storytelling is very important. The consultant approach, Shrey, you will be able to guide me here better. But what is the context? What is the action? And what is the result? So something like that on any question. Yeah.
Cat approach. And as being an entrepreneur, I think you would have had a fair share of your failures too, I would say.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so Shrey, how did you approach this? You're a consultant, or you were one.
Yeah.
You
No, I
guys
think,
can't go wrong, right?
No, I think, like Gauri mentioned, right? These are these could be very personal or professional, and we're as good as we learn from our failures, right? So I'm sure everyone has a lot of failures. It's very important to portray one which is showing your true self, and your true learnings out of those. Like Sharanya mentioned, there are multiple aspects in the application which would show your personality to the admissions committee, and you don't want to fool around with portraying yourself as someone else, because they're very experienced in this, in reading through the applications, and they would easily catch any such thing. So make sure that you highlight a failure wherein there was a key learning which you've used in multiple experiences post that failure, and it has helped you grow, either in a personal or a professional setting. We actually didn't have this question, this
You guys
prompt,
didn't have
while
this.
we were writing essays.
One of the
Yeah.
things I want to add to this is context. So we, as I was telling you, we meet B schools. I was actually telling Shri, I think, who I'm going to invite back. but we meet these B school admission officers at this conference called the AGAC conference every year, and one of the things that um, that they talk about is if you've taken the GMAT multiple times, please send in all the scores, because if you've had a low score and you improve on it, that's kind of for us a part of your character trait. It's like, hey, you didn't get bogged down. You wanted to study at that top school, and similarly, failures are an opportunity to show that aspect of your character, to say, hey, this is something I can take on failures, I can take feedback, I can improve upon it, and which is why I'm going to learn from this and fill those gaps that I have in my candidacy to that post MBA goal, because I've shown that history of improving upon. And I think that's, for me, is a really huge essay overall. So I think we are 50 minutes into the session. And Shrey, do you want to come and talk about the initiative once again? Let me add you to stream, Shrey, and I think let's just go through the presentation once again.
Thanks, Rajat. I've been trying hard to answer all your questions, but please keep posting them. I'll try to answer as many as I can. If we are not able to, I think feel free to sign up. Awesome. So just to give everyone who's joined, I think after our initial few minutes, my name is Shrey. I'm a Wharton admit here with the panel, and also a volunteer at Students Fight COVID. We are a group of more than 250 MBA admits from top universities like Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, NCR, Columbia, and Tuck. A few of us started this initiative about 3 weeks back with one goal: to raise funds for orgs that are working with youth, and also mentor MBA aspirants on different aspects of an MBA application. The funds that you donate go to Swasth Foundation, helping them procure oxygen concentrators, oximeters, etc. Till date, we have mentored over 300 admits and raised over 22 lakh rupees. Very, very fortunate to be featured on GMAT Club, Poets and Quants, news publications like The Hindu. Rajat, if you could move on to the next slide. We can help you with 5 key aspects of your application. I see majority of our questions are within these 5 dimensions, right? So application essays, post-MBA goals, school selection, your letters of recommendation, and also your interview prep. So feel free to sign up, select one of these services, and we connect you with a mentor in 48 hours, right? Rajat, if you could just move on to the last step. Yeah. We have an offer for all the amazing people tuning in today. You get a 60-minute slot with one of us, Gauri, Shrey, Sharanya, or the other 250 volunteers that we have. So to sign up, you basically donate INR 1,999 or $25 if you're outside India. e-GMAT has been super supportive, and they'll help you match that donation to get that 1 hour slot with one of us. So very quickly, just going through the steps. Rajat, if you could move to the next slide. You fill a form. You can find the form on your screens or just log on to studentsfightcovid.in. You donate to a fundraiser. The fundraiser link is on your screens. It's also there on our website. You submit the form, and we'll make sure you're connected to a mentor on email within 48 hours of you contacting us. Thanks, Rajat. We look forward to chatting with most of you soon.
Yes, I think one thing I want to just emphasize is we have about 100 units of these only as e-GMAT matching. So usually this service would cost you, 4,000 rupees, which, by the way, for 4,000, I think it's also a fantastic value. But as a part of this webinar, you can get this for 2,000 rupees or 25 bucks or 25 USD if you're outside, and we are happy to do our part in matching this. So do make use of this opportunity and work with a top MBA student. And with that, let's kind of take 3 questions over there. And if you're not able to access the form, if you're joining in from LinkedIn, then you can write to me on my email, rajat@e-gmat.com. And yeah. So a lot of people have talked about their asked this question, their alma mater. Gauri, you're from LSR, Shrey or Sharanya was from IIT Delhi.
I'm from IIT Delhi. Yeah.
You're from IIT Delhi, and so does what role you're from?
SRCC.
SRCC. So again, a top college. So what percentage of is it required that one is from a top undergrad program, or yeah. So, or to what extent is it helpful? What do you think? I mean, you've access to over 250 mentors, so you know their backgrounds as well. So what's your opinion on it?
So I think it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, I think it's not at all required to be from such universities, because an application has multiple different aspects for you to showcase your strengths. Part of all a good university shows is that you have a good academic record based on your grades and the university, which can be reflected through your transcripts, your GMAT scores. So there are multiple avenues to show excellence across different sections. It does help, to be from these universities. It serves as a credential by itself, but does not mean that you would not be able to get into a top school if you're not from these universities.
Okay, all right.
Yes, so just one point to that.
Yes.
So my biggest, the biggest strength of the school for me was the people who had access to prior to applying, right? So I knew people in these schools, the ones I was targeting, and I think through this initiative, you all can have that. So please, I think my conversation was super useful for me. So if you can get more students who are from these universities to talk to you, it's really helpful. So I mean, that's just what I wanted to add.
Okay. Is this, I think there's a comment on the services. Are there any applicant consulting to help with our application essays? I think this is a part of the service that you guys offer as a part of this, and I think this is a fantastic service that's there. So you get help with application. I think for the amount of money that you're getting for your paying, this is really good. Okay. Okay. Did you guys use admission consultants, by the way, yourself?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did.
Okay. Just name them, which ones you used. We don't do
Adam
admission
Marcus.
consulting. Adam Marcus, okay.
I also work with a US-based consultant, Square One Prep.
Oh, Square One Prep, okay.
Yeah, and I went ahead with Charlie Taylor. She was earlier with Career Protocol.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, that's those are all wonderful folks. Through EGAC, we know them. I think I'm going to just take this one other question, and I think this is a related question. Low GPA but great GMAT score. Do you think, and this is your opinion, I know this is your opinion, not the admission officers, do you think that person has a shot at COVID? Or yeah. Sorry, Wharton. I shouldn't say COVID. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. No brainer. Please apply. 770 is the most recent reflection of your capabilities. You might have gone through, some, personal circumstances, or may just have, had a realization where you want to put in more effort. And I think a 770 GMAT is extremely strong, and there should be nothing that should stop you from applying to the best universities.
Can I add something here, Rajat? Something I feel very important to say here. I would say don't self-select. That is the best advice I got throughout the 2-year process. Don't let me, Shri, Sharanya, Shrey, or anyone tell you this school will works in a certain manner. You only need a 750 above, or you only need such a CGPA. There's no benchmark. We don't know what works, but don't self-select. Like 2 years back, I would not name the school I would want to be. I was so scared of it. Like I would think it's so far off. It's on such a big pedestal, very far away from me. I would just say don't self-select. Let the school select you. Don't underestimate yourself. They might be looking at you in a much stronger way than you would, or anyone around you, or even the admissions consultants would look at you, who have all the experience. So if you like a school, you connect with it, you feel you have a decent chance, just go for it. I mean, have some schools as your reach schools, and so that you're not disappointed. But if you feel like doing it, just go for it.
I think what you want to say is, if you've worked hard, if you've had those achievements, there are those it's not a formulaic approach where in an Indian B school system you have to really you say, okay, your 12th grades matter a certain amount, then your undergrad university matter a certain amount. If you're a girl, it matters a certain amount. By the way, those things don't matter in the US or European B school system. It's about excellence, and they are very. I mean, they tolerate failures. It's as long as you've corrected them. We all, and that's kind of the beauty of um, of the US admission process or even the European admission process. Failures are acceptable as long as you've kind of corrected them. I think that's there. Deferred MBA.
I
You
think
guys,
one small thing
yes. Sorry.
I would want to add to that. I think
Mm.
one of the worst possible ways of not getting into a school will be you not applying into that. And a lot of people think that XYZ aspect might not work out, but there are multiple dimensions to the aspect. Repeatedly pointing it out. Try to identify your strength and make sure that you convey it.
At the same time, focus, because you guys, all three
Yeah.
of you, focus, and so you didn't really go applying to 10 schools.
Yeah.
Because yeah, otherwise that focus is no longer there. Okay, deferred MBA. So you guys, yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably take that since I'm the one who deferred last year.
Yes.
So I think every school, almost every school, has an option to ask for a deferral. It usually they would want to hear your case of deferral and evaluate it on a case by case basis. Um, the situation last year was pretty unique given the pandemic, and a lot of internationals could not reach the countries of the top schools, which is why a bunch of folks had to defer. But yeah, I mean, if you are in an extenuating circumstances because of your personal reasons, could be a financial reason, could be any other problem, stay in touch with the admissions committee and ensure that you communicate your concerns to them. They'll definitely try to help you or grant a deferral.
Okay. All right. I think that was the last question that we're going to do. I want to thank everyone for joining me today. I also want to remind people we have a few more sessions. Tomorrow we have a session on MBA after 30. How do you go from a hardcore tech into product management? That's tomorrow by a Kellogg MBA grad. Then this weekend we have GMAT session. A lot of you talked about the GMAT. Karthik, if you want to kind of share the links for those sessions. We have a GMAT session on sentence correction, and I think one on number properties on Saturday and Sunday. And then on Tuesday, we have a very interesting session on how to portray leadership in your MBA application, and that's I'm really looking forward to that session. So for those of you who are in the MBA 4A, if you need help on the GMAT, attend the GMAT session. If you're looking forward to, or if you have concerns about, hey, how am I going to talk about this leadership? I don't have reporting capabilities, or what aspects of leadership make for a solid application, attend Tuesday's session or so. And again, I want to thank you guys for joining me today, and I want to thank you for putting in the effort to help those who are in need.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Rajat.
Rajat.
Thank you so much.
Take care.